Are you guys ready to talk about all the big DC announcements from the week?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
Now, this surprised because, so James Gunn put out a video, and then it was all this big news. It surprises me to learn that you didn't really hear about this stuff because you're kind of plugged in, and this was all over the internet. But I kind of like that you didn't because I'll get your reaction to these.
Yeah, I'm curious to see.
So basically, James Gunn came out and he announced their first slate of movies and TV shows that are going to be connected. But he also said there's certain properties that they're going to label as Elseworld that are outside, and that would include things like the Batman franchise with Robert Pattinson, and the Joker 2 Joker sequel they're making, and there was a handful of other things too. But I'm going to go through the list of things for this slate. Oh, and he announced there, you know how Marvel just says oh, this is phase 1, phase 2. He's naming this phase Gods and Monsters. So
Okay.
yeah. So the first is a television show called Creature Commandos. This is a 7-episode animated series written by Gunn that is already in production. Originally a team of classic monsters assembled to fight Nazis, this is a modern take on the concept. The voice actors have yet to be cast, but the executives are looking to find people who can voice the animated characters and also portray the live-action versions when the anti-heroes show up in movies and series. And this is a promo picture because apparently he said it's already in production. I've never actually I've heard of Creature Commandos. I've never read it. I think it's a pretty old comic. I do find it kind of weird that they're going to occasionally have the characters in the animated stuff pop up in live action, so they want the same actors, voice actors.
It's kind of interesting.
But I feel with most cartoons, they cast people because of their voice.
Yeah.
And so this makes me think that they're gonna cast
Clancy Brown.
not Clancy Brown is what I'm getting at. Probably more famous people, But what do you guys think about this concept though? I don't know if it'll be in World War II necessarily, because if they're gonna have these guys pop up in other places. Oh, and one of the characters is that Weasel guy from the Suicide Squad that Gunn directed.
Weaselton.
Yeah. So but what do you think of that? Just the concept of monsters, I guess, fighting foreign enemies, probably, whether they're Nazis or something else.
It all depends on the story. Yeah. I don't know anything about him, so.
Next is Waller. In a spin-off of Gunn's own HBO Max hit series Peacemaker, Viola Davis will return as the ruthless and morally ambiguous head of government task force. It is being written by Crystal Henry, who was involved with the Watchmen TV show, and Jeremy Carver, the creator of the Doom Patrol TV series, which we, of course, like. So apparently, Gunn said he had a plan for Peacemaker Season 2, but then when they kind of conceived this series, he said this almost serves as a in between of Peacemaker Season 1 and Season 2. So it's going to kind of pick up on some of the threads from Peacemaker and go into this show.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know if I love Peacemaker, but it was probably one of their stronger properties.
Yeah, it was decent at least.
Yeah.
It was good.
I like Peacemaker. I thought it was good. So what they say? They're not going to make a season 2 now because he's running the whole thing?
I think they actually might still make a Season 2, but this serves as kind of an in-between.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the plan, of course, these are all subject to change. Who knows if even these announced properties will even come out? I'll believe it when I see them. But yeah, I think he kind of did still want to do a Peacemaker Season 2.
Okay.
So next is the first movie that they're going to go with, which is called Superman Legacy. The movie featuring the Man of Steel that Gunn is writing and may direct, although no commitments on that end have been made. While the two previous titles are meant to be geez, what is this word? Aperitifs? I have never heard that word. In Safran's words, Superman is the true kickoff for the duo's DCU plans. It's not an origin story, Safran said. It focuses on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage and his human upbringing. He is the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way. He is kindness in a world that thinks that kindness is old-fashioned. And they have slated a release date of July 11th, 2025 for this to come out.
At least they're not doing the origin story, because that's a kiss of death for me.
Well, I'll say this. They definitely don't need to do the origin story. But I remember when Man of Steel, the trailers for Man of Steel came out, and they showed that scene on Krypton. I rolled my eyes in and was like, oh, really? They're doing the origin? But then I really like that first 10 minutes or so of Man of Steel that does the origin. It does it in a very truncated way, and I thought it was done well. So it just all depends on how it's done. But yeah, generally speaking, I think the world at large knows the origin of Superman. We don't really need to. Same with Batman. At this point, we don't really need to tread that territory anymore.
I lost my bet by 3 points.
You owe me $10.
But it's okay. I want another bet.
3 points is a close one, huh?
Yeah.
Kept you riveted.
But does your other bet that you won make up?
Yeah, I always try to bet to where I diversify it. And
Diversify my...
So you broke even.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to bet on the sure thing and the not sure thing.
The sure thing fell through.
You know what's weird is he also made a statement of people like Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot have a window to possibly come back and play a role. Whether or not they do that, who knows? But they seemingly definitely broke off the relationship with Henry Cavill, which I find weird, because I'm like, okay, even if they want a younger Superman, which was what it sounds like, fine, but why say, oh, there's a window open for these guys, but we definitely won't do anything with Henry Cavill. I don't know, that seemed a bit weird to me. Plus they have this Elseworlds stuff. It's they could maybe do an Elseworlds thing with him if they wanted to, but I don't know, apparently not.
Well, I mean, there is talk that Cavill might go to Marvel and become Hyperion. So, I mean, this is rumor, but
right,
might be something that they've considered, and they're like, well, if he goes there, we don't want anything to do with him.
Hyperion, he kind of is Superman-esque, isn't he?
Yeah.
I've never really read, God, what's that? Because what's that team that Hyperion's on in Marvel? Because I know, they're also in that same team. There's analogs for other Justice League members. There's a kind of Batman-esque kind of guy. I want to say
maybe West Coast Avengers. I'm not sure.
No, they have another name. I'm blanking on it, but that could be interesting though, really, because then it would be oh, Marvel has this team that's kind of analogs for the Justice League characters, and in the lead you have Henry Cavill. That would actually be kind of cool. This next one I'm excited about, but I also have some reservations about. So, Lanterns. Greg Berlanti's long-in-the-works Green Lantern TV series has been scrapped, and Gunn and Safran have parted ways with the longtime DC series steward. He was the guy that kind of did all the CW superhero shows. In its place will be a new take on the space cops with power rings. Quote, our vision for this is very much in the vein of True Detective, Safran described. It's terrestrial-based. It will feature prominent Lantern heroes Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart, and is one of the most important shows they have in development. This plays a really big role in leading into the main story we are telling across film and TV. So, I love the Green Lantern universe, and I really love detective stories. So, this is definitely right up my alley. My only concern is this going to prevent them from doing a Green Lantern movies? Because that's my thing with Daredevil is I like the original Daredevil TV show, but at the same time I'm always I would kind of like to see a Daredevil movie as well, Yeah. So I hope this doesn't mean we're not going to get a Green Lantern series of movies, but this sounds good, a detective story involving Green Lanterns. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'd be down to watch that.
Could be good. Could be.
The only other thing I don't like is it says terrestrial based, because like, does that mean that they're only going to be on Earth? Because like as Green Lanterns, like I do want to see them go to other planets, and
Well, I mean, I'm not super into the lore. Aren't they usually based on a planet? Like they'll send like a protector to a planet.
well, so they got a centralized planet called Oa. That's like where they all go to train and stuff. And then there's like, I forget the exact number, like 2,000 some odd space sectors. And generally they have a couple lanterns for each sector.
Okay.
And Earth, I think, is 2814, I want to say. But although they don't really hold to that because, like, it's usually, like I said, 2 lanterns per sector, I believe. But then, like, they just kept adding, like, human lanterns from Earth.
Right.
Because you got Hal and John, but then you also end up getting Kyle Rayner, Guy Gardner, Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz. So I don't know. There's like many of them for Earth. But yeah, definitely like I'm looking forward to that show. This one was a little surprising. The Authority. A movie based on a team of superheroes with rather extreme methods of protecting the planet that first originated in the late 1990s under an influential imprint known as Wildstorm, run by artist and now head of DC Publishing Jim Lee. One of the things of the DCU is that it's not just a story of heroes and villains, said Gunn. Not every film and TV show is going to be about good guys versus bad guys. Giant things from the sky come and good guys win. There are white hats, black hats, and gray hats, added Saffron. They are kind of like Jack Nicholson and A Few Good Men. They know that you want them on that wall, or at least they believe that. So have you guys ever read Authority?
No.
So they're an interesting team, but like the 2 like most prominent members are Apollo and Midnighter, who are basically analogs for Superman and Batman, and they're also a gay couple.
Okay.
And then there's other team members that have kind of like weird powers and stuff, but they're very like, they're not afraid to get violent. Like they'll kill people. And so I think the general idea, well, who knows, but I think they'll definitely butt heads with the Justice League just because of their methods, I hope it doesn't just come down to like, oh, we're going to make the Authority villains and it's going to be Justice League versus Authority, because I think like they're saying here, I would rather see them as kind of an in-between, because like in the comic books, like they're not straight up villains. Like they are fighting like legitimately bad people, but they have the methods where like they will like kill them and stuff. So I think that could definitely be interesting. I'm looking forward to that. Man, this next series, like, it could be good, but it seems totally superfluous and unnecessary. It's called Paradise Lost. The duo describes this HBO Max series as a Game of Thrones style drama set on the all-female island that is Wonder Woman's birthplace, Themyscira.
Okay, I'm getting interested in this. This is going in a good direction.
Filled with political intrigue and scheming between power players. It takes place before the events of Wonder Woman films. I mean, here's the thing. And by the way,
it's on an island with a bunch of women. I'm getting like this like B movie, like, women's prison.
It's not going to have like nudity and stuff, though.
That is a mark against.
And the other thing is like Wonder Woman, like I don't mind Wonder Woman, but she's never been one of those characters that I thought was all too like interesting, and like her backstory and stuff. So just like, oh, how like, what was Wonder Woman's mom like? I was never like, oh, I gotta know. I do find it funny that like this show, they're like, oh, it's Game of Thrones-esque, and with lanterns, they're like, it's True Detective-esque. Like, oh, like these other HBO properties, we have like synergy. I don't know, guys. What do you
Although
guys?
I did like those 2 series. So. Which property is going to be Breaking Bad-esque?
Well, they don't own that, so probably not. But I don't know. Does this appeal to you guys? Like,
maybe.
I don't know. I mean,
are there dinosaurs on the island?
I don't think they can do Game of Thrones better than Game of Thrones. And Game of Thrones didn't even do that great. So I don't know. I'm tired of the genre.
You mentioned dinosaurs. Like there, there is like that's why like Bruce Wayne like has the dinosaur in his cave is because like I think in like a really goofy like old Batman tale like he ended up going somewhere like maybe back in time or somewhere where like there was this island where dinosaurs still existed.
Nice. So he brought one back and taxidermied it.
I guess maybe I should go back and find what comic that's from because I honestly don't know. He's always had like the dinosaur and the giant penny, and I'm like, does he really still need these in this day and age? But like almost every comic artist that draws the Batcave puts in the dinosaur and the big penny.
Probably because it's fun to draw dinosaurs.
Yeah, I'm sure they're just like, oh, it's fun to draw. Next, The Brave and the Bold. This is the introduction of the DCU Batman, says Gunn, of Bruce Wayne, and also introduces our favorite Robin, Damian Wayne, who is a little son of a bitch. The movie will take inspiration from the now classic Batman run written by Grant Morrison that introduced Batman to a son he never knew existed, a murderous tween raised by assassins. It's a very strange father and son story, and importantly, it will feature a Batman not played by Robert Pattinson. However, there is also the Batman sequel. Well, I'll get to that in a minute. So this, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this because like now that we've gotten like the Nolan trilogy and we got like the Batman stuff, like I'm okay now with them introducing Robin just because well, I guess we did see that on screen done very poorly, but like I'm okay with them like taking another stab at doing Robin, like the Robin story correct. But like I've never been a real big fan of Damian Wayne. He's kind of an annoying ass character. And also like, have you guys ever read any of the comics with Damian Wayne?
I don't think so.
Very little.
And also like apparently James Gunn is a big Grant Morrison fan. I gotta admit, like Grant Morrison, like I think he is a talented guy, and I think he's a very creative guy. And like, if you ever get a chance to like listen to interviews with him, like he's an interesting guy for sure. But most of his comic book work, it doesn't resonate with me.
Right, it's okay
because it's either like really abstract or it's just overly obtuse and confusing. And like his Batman run, especially, is one of my least favorite Batman runs because Batman is not a character that abstract storytelling, like it doesn't play to his strengths. Like the reason I like Batman is because he is like the one character you can kind of believe could take place in a real world scenario, and his run is just like filled with I don't know, stuff I don't like. It introduces the Damian Wayne character, which in that series especially is a very annoying character. Like later on, like as other people wrote him, like he gets a little more palatable. But like Tim Drake is a lot better Robin. I don't know. And also like even with Superman, like I think James Gunn also has referenced like All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison, which is a Superman book that a lot of people think is a masterpiece. And to me, I'm like, it's fine.
I think I did read that one.
Yeah, it didn't do much. There's a lot of more Superman stories that I like a lot better than that one.
Is that the one where it opens where he like flies too close to the sun?
Yeah.
And then he's going to die because he soaked up too much energy or
right,
something.
Exactly.
Whatever the story
exactly.
is.
That is what it is. And it's fine, but I don't know. It's not the masterpiece that people think it is. At least I don't think so. So yeah, I'm interested in this movie, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to totally crap on it. It might be good. So the Batman sequel with Pattinson, it says Pattinson will continue to portray the Dark Knight in at least one more crime saga movie directed by Matt Reeves. That movie, the executives revealed, will be released October 3rd, 2025, and is being titled The Batman Part 2. 2025 is going to be a very big year for DC, crowed Safran. Superman and Batman within the same year. Next, this one could be fun. Booster Gold, an HBO Max series based on a unique, lesser-known hero created in 1986. Safran said of the series, "It's about a loser from the future who uses basic future technology to come back to today and pretend to be a superhero." Gunn described it as imposter syndrome as a superhero. I like the character Booster Gold. He's usually fun. I think this will be probably a pretty lighthearted series.
I don't think I've seen him too much. I know I saw him in something. He just seemed kind of like a.
Well, you read that 52 series, right? He plays a part in that. He's got his little robot companion Skeets that follows him around.
Sounds vaguely familiar.
But yeah, he usually bends towards like comedy, so I think it'll probably be pretty fun. And then lastly, actually this is missing one. Dang it. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Taking its cues from the recent Tom King written miniseries, this movie promises a different take than what most think of when Superman's cousin comes to mind. We will see the difference between Superman, who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents from the time he was an infant, versus Supergirl, raised on a rock, a chip off of Krypton, who would watch everyone around her die and be killed in terrible ways for the first 14 years of her life, and then came to Earth. She is much more hardcore and not the Supergirl we're used to. I haven't read that series yet. I want to, but it apparently got like pretty high ratings. Like people really like that series. It is weird though, because that series just came out in comic book form like last year, and they're like already like kind of, using it as the basis of this movie.
I mean, I think Marvel does that too. Like they come out with like pretty recent stuff, and they're making like the Kang movies based on like pretty.
Oh, more recent stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they also have already done like Miss Marvel, who's a relatively new character, and Riri Williams, who's a relatively new character. So yeah, it seems like the time frame is getting shorter for like things introduced in the comics being introduced in the movies.
Right. It seems like they're experimenting with the comics a little bit. They put it out there, and then they're like, all right, if this works, we'll put it in the movies. So.
Yeah, that is one good thing like the comics work for, is like kind of like a testing thing for like, will this resonate? Maybe I just missed copying it on here, but they're also doing a Swamp Thing movie that they said will kind of lean into like horror. I'm not a big horror fan, but I do think it's smart of them to like Marvel does, diversify like the genres you're using. And Swamp Thing is an interesting character.
Yeah, I mean, what did Marvel do with Werewolf by Night? Was that The Thing or Man Thing?
Oh, Man Thing, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, he's definitely like a Swamp Thing like copier. What do you guys think? Does like Swamp Thing do anything for you? I know you've read like Alan Moore's run.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I've read, and I wouldn't say that was too much in the horror genre as much, but I know that has other roots as well, so you could go some different ways with it probably.
He did mention the Flash movie. He says that he's seen it and he thinks it's one of the best superhero movies he's ever seen. Like, that's what he's saying. And he did claim that it's going to, in some way, like, reset the DCU. So they apparently are using that to kind of clean the slate somewhat. But then, like we've talked about, and he didn't really go into this, but the Blue Beetle and Aquaman 2 are coming out after that movie, and so it's like I don't know how exactly they're gonna factor in.
What did they say about Momoa?
So it's weird because they did that whole thing where they're like, oh, we're still open to Momoa and Gal Gadot still playing a role going forward. But then they showed some video where like and I assume this was all like approved by publicists, where like Jason Momoa came out of a meeting with DC and was all happy. So like apparently he is playing something. You know, people have speculated, will he play Lobo or is he going to still play Aquaman in some sort of way or something else? So apparently, you know, apparently Momoa is still in for something. We just don't know exactly what. Well, out of all these things I mentioned, like which appeal to you the most?
I mean, Batman's always up there.
Right. Are you more excited for the Batman and Son movie, or are you more excited for the Batman 2?
I mean, the Batman 2 probably, just because I know the first one was decent.
Right.
I wasn't too interested in the Flash movie before you said that, but I mean now
Now
sounds
you're curious.
like it might be good actually, and if it resets everything, it might be like the one to watch.
Well, you know, so yeah, apparently like, because I heard that quote too, like before Gunn said it, that apparently like other people have seen it and said, oh wow, it's like really good. But I'm always like really skeptical of that because I remember like, I may have talked about this on a podcast before, but I remember when the first trailer for that Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds came out, I watched that trailer and I was like, ooh, this looks really bad. But then there was a story that came out that they're like, oh, they showed this on the Warner Brothers lot and it got a standing ovation. I was like, oh, okay, maybe it was just a bad trailer. And then, of course, that movie came out and I was like, ooh, no, it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
It's a really bad movie. And then the other time I heard that standing ovation thing was before, I believe it was Batman versus Superman came out. And then that movie was bad. And I was like...
They just stand for anything.
yeah, I was like, if I ever hear a standing ovation again, I'm going to be like really dubious.
Maybe they're like the Kim Jong-un of the universe over there. And the
They're being held at gunpoint.
right. They're like, don't stop clapping.
They didn't tell you what the circumstances of that standing ovation were.
But hey, at least there seems to be like a diversity here of characters. I think I'm most excited for the Lanterns TV show just because I like the Green Lanterns. I like detective stories. It seems to have everything that I'm interested in. So
I think I'll be more interested, like, if one of these properties is good, then I'll start watching more, and, you know, I'll get more interested in DC all over again. But right now, I just kind of like, I don't know, I'm not too excited about DC.
do you guys have any DC characters that they haven't mentioned here that you're like, oh, I would really like a movie or TV show like with that character?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't think I know that many.
I mean, these are definitely all the major ones. Although, you know, as of yet, they haven't announced any Wonder Woman stuff. I'm actually wondering, like, since they're going to have, like, you know, Damian, I assume eventually down the road they'll have other members of the Bat family. Hopefully, you know, Nightwing, Catwoman, Batgirl, maybe Batwoman. Like, who knows?
So who's the mom?
Talia al Ghul.
Al Ghul. Okay. She was hot in the cartoon in the 90s.
That's true. I mean, so you assume that probably like she and Ra's al Ghul will probably play some sort of a part, or at least, you know, be in the universe. But what do you guys think? What are you most looking forward to in this announced slate of DC movies and TV shows? And what's not announced that you would like to see? Please comment and let us know.